Yes, hello, my name is Aaron. This is going to be a tutorial. Someone had asked about playing Unlucky Skin on the guitar, which I actually do quite frequently. I apologize, my laundry is going. Probably terrible time to record this, but no time like the present, I guess. Anyway, I actually had recorded a tutorial of this and was editing it, and through some problem that was, definitely no fault of my own, the video and the project disappeared as I was rendering it, actually, which is not at all frustrating or disheartening. But I'm back, and we'll go ahead and go through this again. I did a banjo tutorial, and someone had actually asked kind of a joint request in the comment. They said they want to know about fingerpicking and also about this song on guitar. I don't know if they were talking about fingerpicking this song. I actually wouldn't recommend it. That's why I'm holding a pick. So I'm going to go ahead and just teach you the pick version. And yeah, I made like a fingerpicking video a little while ago, as best I could. Fingerpicking is kind of it's a strange thing to explain. And it's not strange, it's like all things guitar and music, it's so dependent on just you practicing that I can't really do a whole lot through a screen. So I'll go ahead and get this started. I'm just going to go ahead and run through it. I saw someone mention the other day, not on my channel, I think it was somebody else's channel, they're like, they really enjoy tutorials where somebody plays the song first. So I'll go ahead and do that, and then I'll get into what actually is going on. So, Unlucky Skin. That's how it goes. That's how you play it, and that's the end of the tutorial. No, so it's basically just two sections. There's a third section that's so simple, and I'll explain it. But I wrote out a tab and like a tab of the riff and of the second section. I didn't write out a tab of this section because it's really easy to explain. But so. Yeah, you start with this riff. One interesting thing about this song, there are two interesting parts, and the overarching interestingness of that is that the song is in kind of a strange timing, two different strange timings actually, from part to part. So the first part is actually in 7/8 timing, so you have 7 beats per measure, and what that sounds like when you're playing, if you're going to count it, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So yeah, you got 7 beats per riff. If you want to think about it that way, it's really just per bar, and that'll be easily visualized if you kind of look at the tab as you're doing this. But so what you're doing is you're hammering on, starting at the 2nd fret. Your riff kind of starts here, and this is an open D. I should have mentioned I'm actually in open E right now. I'm just too lazy to change that. If you want to play an open D, you're going to go D, A, D, F sharp, A, D, lowest to highest. If you want to play an open E, you go E, B, E, G sharp, B, E. Sorry, I had to remember. I just started playing an open. It's fun. It's easier to sing it for me too. It's basically the same thing. All the chord shapes are the same. Basically, just it's on all of the intervals are the same. You just tuned up a whole step. So you're starting on the second fret of your D string. If you're in open D, this is going to be the second fret of your D string, and it would be the D string even if you're in standard. So. And the nice thing about these open tunings is you don't have to worry a whole bunch about hitting extra strings because they're all kind of tuned to a chord. So like this, you can get that A. What would be A if you're tuned to normal? This is okay. This is going to start getting confusing. If you're in standard, this is your A string. If you're in open D, it's your A string. So you can get these top 3 strings or these low 3 strings here. The hardest part is probably the quick little rhythm thing here. So you're starting on the 2nd fret, and then you're going to hammer onto the 4th fret and go back to the 2nd fret, hit that 3 times in the same rhythm, in the rhythm of the riff, and then pull off. And so you can kind of think about how like you're doing a riff and then you have a target note after that. So riff, 2nd fret, 4th fret, 2nd fret, open, and then your target note after you do that is your A string. Then you're going to go 2nd fret A string, so A string, 2nd fret A string, open A, and the last one is open D. And one thing I'm doing here that it's kind of imitating the banjo in a way, which is what the song was originally played on, is I'm using this low, what would be low D if you're tuned to open D, this is low E, but I'm using my bass lowest string to use as kind of like a drone, especially when I'm doing like the target note thing. So I'm coming up here to hit that in between kind of when I'm hitting my other note. It's just kind of an alternating. Just to add a little bit more something going on. And yeah, it's really just getting that riff down. So 2nd fret, hammer on 4th fret, 2nd fret, open. Kind of a substitution you can do instead of you got A, 2nd fret A, and then on the 3rd iteration you can do the 3rd fret of your F sharp or G string in standard, F sharp if you're in open D, which is just another A. You're just kind of hitting A in a different spot. And the riff is played so loosely. The whole song is kind of played well, not the whole song, the second part's kind of, it's pretty structured, but this riff is so, it's almost open to, it's in an open tuning, it's got like this weird rhythm going on, it's almost open to not really interpretation but kind of loose playing. Like sometimes I'm not even hitting this, like in theory you're supposed to do like a 1 and 2 and 3 and sometimes I'm only hitting it twice, like it's just kind of a loose riff. You know, play it how you can. Part of that is just I'm not that great with the pick. I don't use picks very often, so. It helps to sing these things sometimes, so you can hear. da 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 da. Laundry's done. So yeah, that's the riff part. And there's a tab. To the extent that will help, it's in the weird tuning, like I said. So the tab it just might end up being more confusing than anything, but it is there. It might help you kind of visualize what's going on. You can see how many notes you're playing, and kind of contextualize it in that way. So you're coming out of that riff part to a more chordy part that utilizes chords, although not that many. So you're starting on this really common open D chord, which is kind of it's an E7 shape. If you're in standard and you are familiar with the E7 shape, it's the same shape. So you got 2nd fret A string and 1st fret F sharp string, or G string in standard, and everything else is just open. So, and the interesting part about this, we're switching timings, going to 5/4. So 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 kind of get used to that. As you might have heard, I meant to count to 5, but I was actually subdividing, which is something I do frequently. If there are strange time signature or time signatures, I'll subdivide the beats. So there's 5 beats. You can kind of break that up into 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3, and that way you're kind of thinking of it as actually it's a bar of 3 4 and 2 4, which is it's for whatever reason, for me, that was kind of a breaking point when it came to weird time signatures. I heard someone say, "Oh, you can subdivide," and it just made a little bit more sense, especially. I don't know. Like this song doesn't even. There are some songs that kind of lend themselves to subdividing because the parts almost feel subdivided. It's not necessarily like a 5/4 riff. Like if you think about and you can kind of make the argument that all songs feel like they should be subdivided, because unless you're playing just like one note for 5 beats, then you can subdivide in kind of like arbitrary places. But like take 5 for example, like the classic 5/4 song. It's very flowy, and you can kind of count it in 5 and not feel disoriented. Some songs are a little more disjointed in their rhythms, and so subdividing can be a little bit more logical, I guess, when it comes to counting the song. But anyway, so what you're doing here, you got that chord, 2nd fret A string, 1st fret F sharp string. And what I'm doing is hammering on 1 and 4. So 1 2 3 1 2 1 2. Or well, I shouldn't subdivide. 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1. And then you're just going to open D or opening, and you're doing kind of this riff thing. It's not really riff, it's more like a walk up, or like it's actually kind of this cool chord modifying thing that he's doing. He's just playing a D the whole time, but he's modifying it the whole way up, and at one point even you could make the argument playing a different chord. This first one, you can either do just your low A string, or you can do both A strings. For whatever reason, I like to just do one, but it's a stylistic preference, you know. On these chords, so what you got here is this. I'll go ahead and do both A strings, and then you can decide which one you want to do. You're just fretting both A strings and kind of bouncing them up, because you're kind of going in between this shape and open. So interesting chord. I'm going to explain this because it's bothering me. So it's an interesting little chord modification up the neck. So you're basically just playing a D the whole time, except for this first one on the 2nd fret. So your first one is, I don't know why it's still going, is 2nd fret A strings, both of them. And this is actually a B minor. You could call it like a D with a 6 added, but it's basically a B minor. I mean, it is a B minor. This is how you play B minor in open D if you're interested. 2nd fret, 4th fret. Now you have D major 7, which is great. Major 7s sound really cool. Then you have 5th fret, so 2nd fret, 4th fret, 5th fret, which is just a D with a bunch of Ds. So you got D, 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 F sharp, D, D. It's just a bunch of Ds, a D heavy D. There's a lot of Ds going on here. So 7th fret. This is like kind of a D add 9 type thing. What note do we have here? If that was D, this is E. So we have E. Yeah, it's like a D add 9. And the 9th fret finally is just a normal D, but you're playing a couple extra F sharps, a lot of thirds. And it's interesting how these chords are exactly the same as far as the notes in them, but they have very different feelings because well, I wouldn't say very different feelings, but they do feel a little bit different. This one's a little brighter, I would say. Partly because you're just playing it higher up the neck, and also you have more thirds, which is kind of like the meat of triads. They're kind of what give triads their character. And it's not really inversion or anything. It's just adding more of a certain note, which is interesting that changes the characteristic of a chord, especially also just because you're playing it in a different spot. So this part is you're just doing this bouncing motion. I was counting it the other day. I'm trying to, hopefully, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 1 and 2 and 3. It's kind of how you have to 1 and 2. I don't know if I can do that. 1 and 2, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. So it's kind of the same hammer-on thing. You're doing it at 1 and 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you're going down from there. I hope I explained the fingerings, but you're just moving up the 2 A strings. So 2nd fret, 4th fret, 5th fret, 7th fret, 9th fret. And you're kind of hanging out at the 9th fret for a second. So 2nd fret, 4th fret, 5th fret, 7th fret, 9th fret, 9th fret. And you're just doing this bouncing motion all the way up. Bouncing motion all the way up. You're kind of just grabbing it for a second, and then you can pull off, or you can kind of just... I like both. I'll play both whenever and the only one you're really holding is that last one for the last bar for a whole 5 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you're gonna come down to this chord, which is the same 2 A strings. You're just going to the 1st fret. It's the same shape as all these. Just going to the 1st fret, getting these B flats, and then you got kind of a B flat. Well, this is an interesting chord. It's like B flat, D, and F sharp, which is an augmented B flat, or a B flat sharp 5, whatever you want to call it, which is cool. It's interesting to see an augmented chord in and then I'm doing the same hammer-on thing, just on 1 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the parts are, you start with this E7-like chord. It's not an E7. It's actually if you're in open D, it's like a G add. It's like a G add. G over B add 9. Yeah. So you're starting there. Open D with your walk-up thing to your B flat augmented, then back to open D. basically the whole song. There's some palm muting going on, especially in the riff. Basically only in the riff. To give it like this really percussive sound. Kind of got this chugging thing going on. Yeah, and that's riff plus second part, and then in one of the versions, kind of the version I've seen the most, so like a show me show or something, he does this in this is the last version of or in the last lines, the last verse and the last chorus, he goes into 4/4 and does this kind of like. So that part is kind of doing this chug over your open strings. And going up to G with the 5th fret bar. And open tunings, a bar across any fret will just give you the major chord of whatever the root note is, or whatever is the note on your lowest string, basically. So here we got G. Full bar across the 5th fret. Open. Full bar, open. You're just using the same chords on the chorus part 2. Yeah, that's the whole thing basically. Kind of just getting used to the timings is probably the weirdest part of the learning process, and I don't have any tricks for that. I don't know how to make that easier. Subdividing is what helped me. People kind of learn in their own ways, and I'll go ahead and let you do that, definitely, because that's my philosophy, and it's not because I don't know how to do it. That's what I'm sticking with there. So it's Sunday, it's the end of the week, and the end of the week as well. So I hope everyone has a good new week, starting Monday, which is the beginning of a new week, and then that's that. I hope this helps. It's kind of a weird song to teach, especially over. It's a weird song for me because I'm not a music teacher. And all I can really do is tell you the notes that are being played, and what's going on. Hopefully the tab will help a bit. I wish it was kind of like an interactive tab that you could listen to. And now that I've put that out into the ether of the universe, it's something that kind of has to become a reality now, because I've made it known that it's in my brain. So that's a task that I've set myself just now, 20 seconds ago. So I'll work on that, and you guys can work on learning the song. To anyone who wants to learn the song, hopefully it helps. I'll go ahead and stop rambling now. That was a long video. Yup, it's Sunday. Have a good new week, and have a good everything else. See you guys.